So I have to talk about the Toronto-Chicago game. And I have to because I hyped it up before it happened. And I tweeted during the game. I really enjoyed the game. And it was hard. There was a period during the middle where I had to kind of step away and watch something else because I've been watching hockey since 11 o'clock this morning. So at some point, it's now 9 o'clock at night and there's still hockey on TV. I needed a little bit of a break, just a small one. And to look into how a couple of my videos have been demonetized and what I can do about it. So there's that. But at any rate, the Leafs looked overwhelmed at the beginning. Chicago made it 2-0. It was almost 3-0, and it looked like Chicago was going to run away with it. Then the second period hit. And I have to say, this Toronto Maple Leafs team proved themselves today. So they win the game in overtime. Chicago takes a loss in overtime. They get the point for it. So, Chicago isn't coming out of this with their heads down necessarily, but the Leafs have to be coming out of this one with their heads up. The Toronto Maple Leafs tonight showed the hockey world something. And, it remains to be seen exactly how far these guys are going to go. But that goal by Matthews in overtime was beautiful. And Marner's play was good. Zach Hyman really, really challenging to the net. And there was a play that they brought up where Hyman's driving to the net and Duncan Keith is trying to fight him off. And both Gord Miller and Ray Ferraro said last year, with the way the rules were called, Duncan Keith would have slashed the stick out of Zach Hyman's hands. Would have slashed Hyman's hands. But because of the way that the calls are being made now, Hyman was able to get to the net and get a good scoring chance. And Ferraro said, if this is the end result of all the penalties that are being called, if this is what it opens the game up to do, then it's a benefit. And I agree. And I totally agree with that. And, it is hard. It is hard to watch games where you've got so many penalties being called. And there was the penalty that was called tonight in the Washington game where I watched somebody get booted out of a face-off circle twice, and it became a penalty. It was Tampa. It was Gourde. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, that's so chintzy. But that's how they're calling it. And then I watched at the other end of the ice during the power play, then they started kicking guys out of the face-off circle again. And I'm like, oh, it's one of those games. So there are speed bumps in this that make it hard to get through. But if you can overcome that, and if you can watch through to the finished product, I really think the game is going to be better for it. So I'm also watching Calgary and Anaheim right now. Calgary's up 2-0 with 9 minutes left. Anaheim's on the power play, so it ain't over yet. But this has been a fascinating day. And Toronto, now 3-0, they have a really solid start to the season. And they have a lot to build on. And 19 goals in 3 games isn't bad. So if you're a Leafs fan and you want to take a lap, do it. Because Chicago looked damn good and Toronto turned them back. Toronto wasn't intimidated and turned them back. And even though there was a call against them in the third, which made Leafs fans really upset on Twitter and had everybody angry, the Leafs didn't let it get them down. They killed the penalty off and they still came back and won the game. And that's what you have to do. When you get those calls against you or you don't get a call for you and I got high sticked in the corner, the referee missed it, or I got called for that slash earlier and I didn't do it, go out on the ice and use your actions to make up for it. And that's what the Leafs were able to do tonight. So fantastic game by the Leafs, and just on its own it deserves credit for Toronto, for Babcock, and for Matthews. Anderson closed the door when he had to after allowing a little bit of something that he shouldn't have maybe in the first 3. But, Anderson is good enough to win. This is what I've been trying to say, that, yeah, he's inconsistent, but he's good enough to win. He sort of reminds me of Grant Fuhr. He's a Grant Fuhr with better stats. In that he looks to me like a goalie who's going to have winning records wherever he plays. His stats won't wow you. But at the end of the day, if you've got 4 goals, he'll make sure that he doesn't allow more than 3. You have 5, he won't allow more than 4. And those goalies are really hard to measure, and those are the ones that, like an Osgood or a Grant Fuhr, that people will say, well, he wasn't that good, it was the team behind him. Okay, Anderson's a good goaltender, though, and the Leafs are a good team. and they really showed it tonight. They showed their depth, they showed their determination, and they showed a lot more maturity tonight. And just in this young season, like the Rangers game, they're ahead 5-1. They blow that lead. It's a 5-5 tie. The old Maple Leafs would have just crumbled. Not this one. This game, Chicago's beating them. They're down. The old Maple Leafs crumble. Not these ones. So there's something to build on. There's something there. And if you're a Montreal fan, good news. Chicago's coming into town tomorrow night, and they look pretty beat up. They have to be coming into this game. This game was just brutal and intense from start to finish. So Chicago's tired going into Montreal. We'll see if Montreal can take advantage of that tomorrow. But for now and for tonight, this is Maple Leafs chance. Fans can take a lap. You've earned it. Because, you know, it's Toronto Nation or Fan Nation or whatever you guys want to call yourselves. Congratulations on tonight's win. There's 79 games left. Let's see where things end up. But for tonight, yeah, that was actually a pretty good game. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.